Welcome. We've come to the business end of things here at the Results Operation Center in Midrand, or the IEC Results Operation Center, and we're speaking to various political parties, getting their reactions, the winners, the losers, and the non-participants. And right now, we're talking to. Patriotic Alliance, I'm sure they'll consider themselves the winners of this year's election. Mr. Kenny Kunene, leader of the PA. Dr. Kunene, welcome to Salam Media. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Before we get into your performance, let's focus a bit on the elections themselves. A lot has been said about how the IEC has run this year's polls. A lot of objections being raised, a lot of discrepancies, being raised by various political parties, amongst them the Patriotic Alliance. What do you make of the IEC and how they've run the 2024 elections?
I think the IEC has done a great job. I must start there. However, there are elements within the IEC that have been bought, we believe, that have worked with parties like the DA to rig these elections, the technical teams that have been bought to rig these elections or deployed to rig these elections. And we are saying this because we have seen several examples of that. In Garden Route, our votes meant for PA were given to PAC until our people discovered that. We reported it to the IEC. The IEC investigated, and it was indeed true. They acknowledged and they corrected that, and they returned our votes to us. We've got counting sheets that have been signed with a particular number of votes, but what comes out online is different story. So, but the IEC in general has done a great job. We had peaceful elections, democracy prevailed, except, of course, all these elements that have infiltrated the IEC in favor of the DA.
And speaking of the DA, I mean, looking at your performance in the Western Cape, that's where I want to start. What do you think influenced this surge, for the amount of votes that you've gotten in the Western Cape? I mean, you are the third biggest party in the Western Cape. What's behind this? What did you do differently that resonated with the people of Western Cape?
Had the DA not stolen our votes in the Western Cape, we would have gotten even more. The message that we're driving amongst our people, amongst South Africans, a message of bringing God back to schools, to bring God back into the nation, a message of mass deporting illegal immigrants. In the Western Cape, in the farms, South Africans have been fired, and illegal immigrants from Lesotho, Zimbabwe are being employed in the farms. Because then they can be treated as slaves. So these are the messages that we're putting out there, our turnaround strategy for the country. So that's what contributed to our elections, to our performance.
At the heart of the Patriotic Alliance campaign was obviously the issue of our porous borders and the mass deportation of illegal immigrants. The EFF, they just come out of a press conference. One of the biggest things that came out of that press conference was actually the mention of the Patriotic Alliance. Julius Malema saying, they're staying firm on their open border policy. And if it was wrong, then the Patriotic Alliance would have been the leaders of this year's election. They would be standing number one at the polls. There's no such thing. You're campaigning on fear mongering and trying to cause divisions amongst Africans. What do you make of that?
Obviously, you are speaking to you are listening to a flip-flopper. Just last week at the rally in Limpopo, he was discouraging open borders because it was on the verge of elections, because he realized that it was hurting him. Now that elections are over, and that's exactly the type of politicians that he is, we do not flip-flop on our stance on everything. We still have to zoom into districts and areas and see the impact the Abahambe campaign has had on our performance, and only then we will be able to comment. But I can tell you that everywhere we went, people would say, "We're voting for you, Abahambe." So we we stand by that. Nelson Mandela once said, anyone who changes his tune based on his audience cannot lead a country. That's exactly the man that you've just mentioned. He changes his tune based on the audience that is in front of him. So never take anything that he says seriously, because tomorrow he will be changing again. You'll get into trouble with that man's statements. But as the PA, we are continuing with our call for mass deportation of illegal immigrants.
Speaking of Nelson Mandela, you're quoting him. I would like to quote him a bit. Nelson Mandela also once said, South Africa is not free until the people of Palestine are free.
Yes.
The Patriotic Alliance has been criticized, and some people say maybe in the Western Cape would have probably done better, considering their stance on the current ongoing genocide in Gaza. What's your take on this?
I don't agree that we would have done better in the Western Cape because of the Palestinian vote. There is a video that is circulating of a young man who is showing that in predominantly Muslim areas where there are flags of Palestine, actually the DA got 74% in one of the in one of the VDs. Others it got 50-something, 40-something%. And he was saying, how do we say free Palestine every day, yet the same people are voting for the DA that is pro-Israel? So it is not true. So those who are singing free Palestine with the ANC have actually not voted for the ANC. So we have not lost a vote there. The Muslims that are in our party are still in our party. The Muslims who are councillors who are in our party, they are still in our party. And in our party, they say, free Palestine. And nothing happens to them because everybody is allowed to take their stance on this particular issue. The issue of Palestine and Israel is not an issue that is at the center of the politics of the Patriotic Alliance. Our name clearly defines us. We are patriots. We put the country first. But we are saying that Hamas attacked Israel outside of the rules of engagement. What Hamas did was murderous, was terrorism. And you can't come and fight me. And when I fight back, you then say, hey, you are killing my whole family. But you came in and you killed my family. So Hamas is actually the one that is causing that genocide, if there is a genocide, because Hamas is using Palestinians as body shields. Hamas, and even the leader of the PLO, said that Hamas must go fight elsewhere. He said Hamas is using Palestinians. He says this is not the war of Palestinians, it's the war of Hamas. And Hamas is guilty of using Palestinians as human shields. So we mourn the death of a Palestinian child the same way we would mourn the death of an Israeli child. We have been very consistent. We've never said Israel go and kill Palestinians. No. I said hunt Hamas. I even made an example with Al-Qaeda to say Al-Qaeda attacked America outside of the rules of engagement. And America hunted them. Unfortunately, in war, there are casualties. But we are saying the two needs to find a solution, a lasting solution, which is a two-state solution. That is what we are advocating for, a two-state solution. So my Bible says, when you bless Israel, I will bless you. That is my God. I don't know what your Quran says.
Do you think biblical Israel is the same as current state of Israel? Do you think it's the same thing? Do you think the two correlate historically?
Yes, everything has transformed. In fact, the Quran and the Bible, when you look at them, they both acknowledge the origin of both the Palestinians and the Israelis, that they are brothers who are fighting. They are both grandchildren of Abraham.
All right. I want us to bring it back home. That's international relations, this different platform for that. We are voting here in South Africa, and the focus should be on the 2024 elections. Currently, there's about almost at the back end, there's about 99.57% of completion when it comes to the VDs. Patriotic Alliance sitting at 2.06%, which means the PA is going to Parliament. What are going to be the key priorities for the Patriotic Alliance in Parliament? And also, the big C word is doing the rounds. Coalitions is going to be the biggest factor if we are to have a government after 14 days, which is the IEC stipulating that. Otherwise, we won't. We should be going back to the elections if all the political parties can't agree after 14 days, which government will be heading to the National Assembly. What role do you first see the Patriotic Alliance playing in all of this? Are you willing to trade with any of the parties? What are some of your non-negotiables, and which parties are you totally saying no, we won't talk to you no matter the circumstances?
From 2021, we've been consistent in saying that we will go into coalition with anyone. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who that person is.
Even the EFF?
We have been consistent. We are in a coalition now in the city of Johannesburg, and that coalition comprises of the EFF. And we still say we'll go into coalition with anyone who understands our manifesto points, who understand what we want to achieve for South Africans, who understand that illegal immigrants must be deported. So we will wait for a call if anyone wants to engage us. Otherwise, we'll be preparing for the local elections in 2026.
And what are some of your non-negotiables when you choose a party that you like to get into a coalition with?
Bringing God back to schools, mass deportation of illegal immigrants.
Mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Yes. And just lastly, Johannesburg.
And obviously, if we get into national government and we talk about mass deportation of illegal immigrants, we then demand to have Home Affairs as a department that is under PA, so that we can implement that mass deportation.
I want to touch a bit on that. Gayton McKenzie, leader of the Patriotic Alliance, again was talking to the media outside and was talking about you'd make a good Minister of Home Affairs. It would be some of the EFF is calling for Floyd to be Minister of Finance. If they were to get into coalition with anyone, that would be one of their requests. And you potentially leaving Johannesburg, is that on the cards?
If the party deploys me to be Minister of Home Affairs, I will have to take the deployment. They've deployed me against my wish to be a councillor, to be the MMC of Roads and Transport, to be a councillor in the city of Joburg. I've done that. So if the party deploys me, then I will do that.
All right. And just lastly, a message to those that voted the Patriotic Alliance in the national ballot, ultimately sending you guys to Parliament. What would you like to say to them?
We would like to thank all South Africans, all patriots who have voted for the Patriotic Alliance. It is humbling. It's exciting, but we are very much humbled by your confidence in us through your vote. And we encourage all other South Africans to be a protest nation, to stop voting for parties that are doing them bad, to vote for parties or for people that you see they can bring about the needed change in our country.
All right.
Salute.
There you have it there. That's leader of Patriotic Alliance, Mr. Kenny Kunene, leaving us. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, even though we hold different views, but that's what democracy is all about. We're coming to the back end, as I mentioned, of the VDs that have completed. They are vote counting, currently sitting at 99.59. The picture is clear. And just to give you the latest, before I wrap up, the ANC still sitting, well, not comfortably, but sitting in pole position at the support of around 40.2%. The Democratic Alliance holding second position at 21.29%. MK, the new kids on the block, the big story of this year's election, they're sitting at 14.6%, and the EFF at 9.5%. 0.48%. So possibly the EFF losing the tag of being the country's third biggest party. But don't, misunderstand this. They still have a very, very important role to play when it comes to coalitions, as Julius Malema mentioned in his address earlier to the media, that they'll be there, and ultimately they are going to have one or two ministerials. And just lastly, Kenny Kunene, we just spoke to him right now. He just walked out. They are sitting at a 2.06%. The Patriotic Alliance also heading to Parliament. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue with our election broadcast right after this.